Hello and welcome back to the Linux Panic YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to be proceeding onwards with Linux from scratch. But first, don't forget to hit like and subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. So we've finally completed the GCC compilation. So now let's move on with the rest of Chapter 8. So now that we've done this, we need to start with package config. So we need to remove GCC. Well, the directory of GCC anyway, not the tarball, because that's pain. So now that we've got rid of that, we need to do tar-xf extract and get it ready. So we need to do pkg and then cd into pkg. So there is a way you can actually do that in one shot. You can do, once you've done the tar-xf, you can then do and I'll show you next time around as well. Just gotta wait for this to go through and be done. Now, of course, because it only has a standard build unit of 0.3, it looks like that the compilation of the config might actually take longer than configuration. And we can examine that by just doing, or adding the timer onto that beforehand. Which will just record how long it's taken, and then go from there. What I'm going to do is I am going to just speed up the footage, so you don't have to constantly sit through large sections. So I'll just do start and stop. So I'll be back once I've finished with the installation of the package. Okay, so as it turns out, I didn't actually need to pause that button. Anyway, we're done with this one, so we need to do cd // and so rm-r pkg config, and we can move on to the next package. Ncurse is 6.3, so I will show you what I was talking about. This is a detailed one, so got to keep an eye on this one. So tar-xf ncurses, and we can do and cd ncurses, and we just remove the .tar.gz, and it drops us in at the same time. It is a nice, easy way around it. It just makes life a little bit easier, which I very much like actually. But it's just sometimes more hassle to do the and cd. Yeah, they go through the process of just faffing about to get it sorted out. But now again, config is taking longer to actually do anything else, which is annoying. But it is what it is. So because it has a 0.4 standard build, it shouldn't take too long. We are approaching the part of the Linux from Scratch book where we're actually able to not knock my face, not. Sorry about that. I accidentally just knocked my microphone stand and nearly knocked myself in the face in the process. Sorry about the pwom you would have heard. Now we're approaching the part of the book where we're actually getting to the starting of the operating system after chapter 8, and once we've finished with the final length of chapter 8, as we can, so that's been done. Now what we need to do is just package has test suite, which can be run after the package has been installed. The tests reside in the test directory. See readme for directions, and it just will overwrite. Installation of the package will overwrite libcurse's shared object 6.3 in place. It may crash the shell and processes which using code and data from the library file. Install the package with dest directory and replace the library file using. So just copy and paste all of this to prevent things from dying. So now, if we just go up, we are currently at ncurses, and there is a lot more of this book left, a lot more of this chapter left to go. So I will cover a couple more chapters and then just call it there for the video. So now that we've done this massive block, we're going to, many applications will still expect the linker to be able to find the non-wide character ncurses library, so just trick them into saying, hey look, it's here, which is fine. And then finally make sure the old applications look for the correct thing at the same time. I said copy. And we'll install the documentation just in case. Which again is not really much of a bother, so we just copy paste that in. CD out. Remove ncurses. and move on. Oh well, so I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to skip this, but now we've moved on. It's just doing some cleaning up, which should be fine. So now we're going to move on to sed, which is just the stream editor. So again, it's just tar-xf sed, cd into sed. It's actually quicker to just tar and just copy it, or just tar it, or tar it and then cd into it than doing tar and cd at the same time, as I've found. So it's just easier to carry on doing it the one line at a time instead of trying to add it on, because it's just easier. Again, the config is probably going to take longer than the actual setting up, the actual compilation, which wouldn't surprise me. So now that we've done that, we just need to do make and then make HTML, just to do the tests, install package and documentation, and we're done with sed. So again, that's done. Now we want to do change the owner for that to tester, switch to tester, and then do that. There's a couple of tests that have been skipped, but most of them should come back with no failures. There's no failures, some are skipped, so that is, I'm guessing, as an expected outcome, because no failures, which is always good. Then we can just copy this and move on to the next one whilst we wait for this. It's just going to fly through and shouldn't take too long. I say it shouldn't, but you never know. This Pismic shouldn't take too long at all, so we'll just copy paste that in. I'm going to do cd./rm-r sed, and then we want to do tar-xs ps on pmisc, and cd into pmisc, psmisc, and then because it has a standard build unit of less than 0.1 and it's 5.6 megabytes, it should take barely any time at all. And it took barely any time at all, which is always good. And then we can move on. So we want to do pmisc, psmisc, and carry on. Now, because getText is 2.7 standard build units, I am just gonna stop recording until it's done. So let's start first. Let's do tar-getText, cd into getText, set up the configuration, paste it in, and I will wrap this in a time just to show how long it took as well, so you have some idea of how long it's going to take for when you do it yourself. So again, it's just a matter of sitting and waiting for the configuration to be done, and then I'll show it setting off for the compilation. And then, of course, test results. This takes along about 3 standard build units. Yeah, so again, I could be here for about 5.7 standard build units. It's not too bad, but then again, at the same time, it's also something to be aware of when it's doing it, because the testing is testing everything you've just done, so it may extend a bit longer than what the standard build unit is, which is the case for packages like GCC, for example, because that does take a little bit longer than well, the testing of GCC takes longer than the actual compilation, so that is something to keep in mind when doing this sort of thing. Now, I'm still waiting for the compilation to be done. There we go. So wrap that in a time script. So once it's done, I shall return. Okay, so now that we're back after the compilation and testing, so it took roughly about 10 minutes to compile as well as test. As we can see here, there's a lot of tests that went through, so, and there's a lot to be installed. So now that that's done, we just need to get out of here, rm-r get text, get rid of that, and move on to Bison. Again, because these require a lot, because it's a parser generator which generates from a series of rules, a program for analyzing structure of text. This is basically just a replacement for another compiler, which is rather funny because Yak is called yet another compiler. compiler, which I find funny. So again, we could be here for a while, so we'll do tar-xf bison, cd into bison, and then I will just return once we are done with the installation, because it's going to take 6.3 to build and 5.5 to test. So we could be here for quite a while. Okay, so now the bison is complete. It took about 15-20 minutes to complete. We just need to do the install, which shouldn't take too long because it's only installing it instead of going through the process checking. As we can see, it took not 9/10 of a second, which was barely any time at all. So we just want to remove bison. The directory, not the tarball. If we remove the tarball, we're in for a very, very bad time. Of course, we're currently moving on to grep, which contains just searching through the contents of files. So what we need to do is do tar-xf grep, cd into grep, copy the config, paste the config in. Again, the config may take longer than the actual compilation of the testing of the package, which is, again, not surprising at this point in time. So it is just a matter of sitting and waiting until we're done. So I will return once it's time to install. Okay, it's now time for us to install, so we just need to do make install, wait for this to finish, and then we need to do cd cd rm-r grep, and then move on to the next package, which is bash. So it's just the born again shell, so 1.5 standard build units. It's got a lot of input, so we may be waiting a while for the tests to be complete. So I'll return. I'll stop the recording once I've started the config, and then return once it's time to install. So we need to do tar-xf bash, cd into bash, grab our config. Watch this take longer than anything else. Grab the config, paste this in, and I'll be back again once it's time to install. Okay, so now that we've run the test, it's time to install. So we're going to just wrap this in a time script of time, make install, semicolon, curly bracket again, wait for this to install. Now we need to run the new compiled bash program, replacing the one that's currently being executed. So to do that, we just do copy, paste, problem solved, cd back out of this, rm-r bash, and move on to the next one, which is libtool, which is 1.5 standard build unit. So if we just go up to see where we are, we're currently here in our list. So we've still got a bit to go, but we are over the halfway point at this point, just over it. So what we need to do is we need to do tar-xf libtool, cd into libtool, and then just grab our config and start that off, and I will return once it's time to install. So continuing on from where I was previously, virtual machine had an oopsie, so I'm now back to this part here. So this is what I'm going to call it for this video. I'd like to thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. They both work. It doesn't just shows one of them. Anyway, hit the subscribe button, ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. I have been Nick. You've been amazing, and I hope you have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.